What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to Pro Wrestling Weekly right here on the Takedown on SI. I'm Zach Abram, your host. That is Blake Lovell. He's your other host. Blake, it's Royal Rumble week. We are soon to be on the road to WrestleMania. Man, what's going on?
Yeah, like you said, it's Rumble week, always an exciting time. Lots of, just I think fun to be had when it comes to figuring out how these two big matches are going to go. I think the card itself is pretty solid when you look at the other two matches with McIntyre and Zayn and AJ and Gunther. And so I think it's plenty of exciting times with surprises galore, probably, according to Triple H. And hey, AEW had their own surprise this week. So, yeah.
They sure did. Oh, my God. Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk a little Royal Rumble here to start, and then we'll talk Dynamite. We'll talk Tommaso Ciampa, hit some news stuff concerning AJ Styles and Jake Doyle, Becky Lynch, and some other stories there. And, we want to hear from you, too. So if you are listening to us live right now on the Takedown on SI YouTube channel, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. We're here every single Thursday afternoon. Usually about 12 Eastern is when we fire up the old live stream. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. Subscribe to our channel on the Takedown on SI, not just for this show, but for all sorts of other stuff. We have a full Royal Rumble preview up on the channel right now with myself, Blake, and Rick Ucchino. We dropped that earlier today. So if you want, match by match predictions and analysis, that's the show. We're going to do a little bit more high level kind of Royal Rumble preview here, but the match by match, it's up. It's up right now for subscribers. So Takedown on SI on YouTube. Hit subscribe so you know when that stuff drops. I also have an interview with Booker T that's up on the channel right now. That was a very interesting conversation. Booker was great. So hopefully you guys check that out too. If you're able to hit the like button here, we appreciate it. It helps us get in front of more eyes and more people. We thank you in advance for that. Also, I have the live chat open, ready for your comments, your questions, your rants, your raves. It's all there. If you're able to drop us a super chat and throw a little change in the tip jar, we'd appreciate it. Anything that you could deliver via super chat, we'll make sure we get to, whether that's a question or a comment or just something else altogether. We'll make sure to get to that as we run through the show. But Blake, we talked about it. It's Royal Rumble week. Let's start there, given that that's going to be the major news of the day and of the week and of the weekend. You mentioned the card, and right now there's 4 matches on the card: 2 Royal Rumble matches, the men's and women's. Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre for the Undisputed Championship, and then AJ Styles versus Gunther in a potential retirement match for AJ Styles. Do you think they're going to add to this card? Do you think we're going to see Jade Cargill against Jordan Grace, perhaps, or something like that? Do you think they add a fifth match?
I don't think they will, and I don't honestly think they should, because when I think about, obviously the 2 Rumble matches are going to last a while, but I also am like, these other 2 matches are going to get quite a bit of time. And, as you know, Zach, it's a WWE PLE. There's going to be 5 minutes between every match at least. And so when you just think about that, if you're building in 20 to 25 minutes of simply buffer as well, I mean, that's your other match right there. And so I think, to me, that's probably going to be set at just these 4, because I wouldn't want it to be the case again too, because even if you added a Jade versus Grace or something like that, it just doesn't, it's nowhere near the level of any of the other things on this card. And I feel like, to me, I don't think there's a single thing you could add from SmackDown right now that would qualify to be on what I told you guys yesterday. I think if we look back at the end of 2026 and say that was one of the best PLEs of the year, it wouldn't be that surprising, because you just think about the Rumble effect plus the value you're going to get, I think, of these 2 other matches. I'd be surprised if this isn't, kind of a home run type show for WWE. But you also know that some of that always depends on the winners of the Rumble and whether people look at it that way or not. So
I hope that they don't add to this card, because
no.
less is more. Less is more.
Yeah.
And I wish AEW would take that approach with some of their pay-per-views, because going into this, and it's going to be a long show because, the Royal Rumble matches are long, but if you had like a 10-match card and those Royal Rumble matches were part of it, you'd be sitting there going, oh my God, like I have to commit, in this case, an entire afternoon to the show. WWE, I think, could pull back, obviously, on the commercials and the breaks in between, no question about that. I do think they found a sweet spot, though, with like the number of matches on these shows, and so for that, like I hope that they stick with it. You mentioned could be show of the year, or PLE of the year for WWE, and talk a little bit more about that, because this show, is typically built on the shoulders of the Royal Rumble matches. Obviously, that's the hook, that's the specialty, that's the thing that everybody shows up for. I mean, this is an event that can attract lapsed viewers who go, oh, I don't really watch except for WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble. Like it's that kind of show. But to your point, they did a nice job, I think, building up some of these undercard matches, like the AJ Styles Gunther's match. There's not anything like special there in terms of like fancy booking or like deep, intense storytelling. Like, it's pretty much simple stuff, but you got a babyface, you've got a heel, you've got the heel that wants to retire the babyface wants to beat the heel. I mean, like, it's a simple formula. But I think this is one of the most over matches that WWE has had on a PLE in quite some time. Same thing with the Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn match. Like, clear lanes, babyface, heel, champion, challenger. Sammy's never beaten Drew before. Like, it's simple, but I think people care about both these matches.
Yeah, they do for sure. And I think that's the thing, is when you just look at the amount of interest that you have in both of these and the stakes that are involved, and you have two guys like Sami Zayn and AJ Styles, right, who fans just love. And I think it's like, you see that both of them, yes, it's kind of a different scenario. Like, one guy's going to get his career ended if he loses the match, but the other guy almost feels like he's in a scenario where it's like, if he doesn't win, then what, right? We talked about that on the predictions. Like, if Sammy doesn't win the title here, I don't want to say it feels like that's the end of his career, but like, it's, if he doesn't win the title and or the Rumble, then you're just kind of like, what are we doing? So, so I do think like it's the stakes also, the high stakes of Rumble matches, but also I don't think the stakes could be higher for AJ Styles and Sami Zayn. And so that, to me, adds that full kind of effect to make this entire card feel like something that everything is must-see because of the stakes that are involved. And so I think that's why it really could be special. And like I said, I think I'd be stunned if it's not, if we're looking, again, doing our year-end awards, whatever, this many months from, like, I'd be surprised this isn't one of the top 3 WWE PLEs of the year, just because I just can't anticipate, really, other than maybe just a Royal Rumble winner that everybody hates. You're going to get the surprises. You're going to get all the stuff that you want. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a good show.
We got some folks in the chat checking in right now. Sean Palikta is here. Sean says, I think they did a good job building this up on Raw. I wish they would have done a lot of the Rumble videos that they had done in previous years. Still time. SmackDown is Friday, so we're recording this obviously on Thursday. So you still got time for that, Sean. And says also, both singles matches have been built up very well. We got Atmosphere who's here, who says 4 or 5 matches are great for PLEs when they have 4 or 5 PLE worthy matches, which is not always the case. The Rumble should be great, though. 4 very intriguing and possibly good matches on the show.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Live chat's open. Super chats are open. Appreciate it. You guys jumping in there. It's always a blast to see you guys commenting. Okay. All right. So last year, Jey Uso, he wins the Royal Rumble. It's a total surprise. essentially, on one hand, I think you can make the argument that like, hey, that's a good thing. Like you should like go into this match and hopefully you have a lot of people that could potentially win the match. That's one benefit from a win like Jey Uso last year and the surprise that was. On the other hand, I think you could reasonably make an argument that like Jay winning that match and opening it up to like all sorts of winners, like waters down the Royal Rumble win a little bit. Like it's no longer, the person that wins that match is in the main event of WrestleMania. Like Jay was on the opening card.
Yeah.
Like you could do, Sammy could lose his title match to Drew McIntyre, win the Royal Rumble, and then just kind of be tucked away in a fatal 4-way or something at WrestleMania and have that still logically makes sense. But then you have the Royal Rumble winner kind of tucked away, in a fatal 4-way and not in the main event of WrestleMania. So with that said, I ask you, like, what's better? Is it better to have like the 2 or 3 guys that are going to win this and go in with that, or is the wide open field the way to go? And did WWE play their hand right last year in cultivating that kind of environment?
I think they did play their hand right by doing that, because I think it opens up a lot more possibilities to where we're debating names this year that we probably would not have debated this time last year entering the Rumble. We would have said, they're never going to do that. But the fact that they went with Jay and decided to go all in on someone, then I think you at least can make the case for people who, quite honestly, some could feel like they're stronger than Jay when you mean like, that higher sort of ceiling. And so, yeah, maybe I can make that same case for Braun Breaker and Oba Femi, like guys like that, where you just like take someone, go all the way with them, and that's your path to get there. But I also don't like the aspect that you brought up of, yes, they win the Rumble, but they're going to kick off the show and we're somehow going to present it as though this is like the main event. Like, I don't like that. Like, if they're winning the Rumble, they need to be in the night 1 or night 2 main events. And I don't think that they feel that way anymore, because
yeah, definitely not. Yeah,
it just, they've already sold the tickets. Like, they're not, and they're just, it's not that sort of an issue the way it used to be. So I think anything's on the table here. And so I feel like this is a mixture of, yes, you've got the obvious choices with a Roman Reigns or someone like that. Or like we talked about yesterday, like it's a Sami Zayn scenario where he loses, comes out, wins the Rumble, everything's well again for Sami, and he gets another opportunity at WrestleMania. But I think when you're looking at just, potential candidates and all that kind of stuff, I like the fact that we're not just saying, okay, it's going to be Roman or Cody, and that's that. But instead, we're saying, all right, maybe it is someone, like I said, like an LA Knight who returns and finally gets his big opportunity. Maybe it's Oba Femi. And it's the timing industry too, because think about how much they put into this group of NXT talents, like, and the way they made a clear push over the past month to say, we are bringing all these guys in now. And there's a reason for that. And so you could decide, you know what? And that's, of that group, I think there's probably only 2 candidates that, if you're saying, if they're just going to go way outside the box and just decide to go all the way with someone, like, I think there's only 2 of those, and it's either Oba Femi or it's Trick Williams. It's one of the 2. I don't think they're going to do it with Trick. I could see them doing it with Oba Femi, but I think, as you pointed out, Zach, in our discussion yesterday, like, that person then has to headline WrestleMania. And I think he is probably the only person right now that, if you made a hard enough push, it's possible. But I don't know that I see it. So, but think about all the names we just mentioned, right? And there are more as well that haven't even brought up. I mean, not to spoil Rick's pick, but he brought up a very interesting choice yesterday, which you guys can find in the video we mentioned on the Rumble prediction. So there's lots of people now that we are debating that we wouldn't have this time last year. So I kind of like that aspect. I just hope that whoever wins, if it is one of those same type candidates, they need to be in the main event of night 1 or night 2, however you decide to do it. So
I think there's, I can't really like pinpoint why necessarily it works this way. But I think if you look back at like all the best WrestleManias, typically or usually, and somebody out there can correct me on this, or you can correct me on this, but usually it follows the formula that the winner of the Royal Rumble is in the biggest match at WrestleMania. Like when Cody was in it, or, I don't know, like it's just when they mess around with that, and, you have the Royal Rumble winner, and then now 2 Royal Rumble winners, because you have a women's Rumble winner and a men's Rumble winner. Neither one is in the main event of WrestleMania. I think you get flatter storylines at WrestleMania. I think it's better when you have, this is me personally, I think it's better when you have like the big story or the big star, maybe that's both the same thing, winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania. Now there's shades of gray on that, right? Daniel Bryan being a big one.
Yeah.
But they got that right.
That's the exception.
Yeah, they're right. That's the exception to the rule. When it's, when those years where it was like John Cena, Big Show, and Edge, and one of those guys was the Rumble winner. It's just like, okay. So for that reason, I picked Roman Reigns to win the Royal Rumble. And Sean says here, Roman does not need to win. And maybe he doesn't need to win, but I kind of think like him winning, Blake, like to me that lines up the most interesting and like star-studded path to WrestleMania. Like you do CM Punk against Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is challenging Punk, and boom, there you go. That's a dream match, marquee match, a match that you can't do forever. But that sounds like and feels like a WrestleMania Night 2 main event to me. Like Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu versus Cody Rhodes in a fatal 4-way.
It's just not
so much. Like not so much. So for that reason, like unless like you said, unless you're going to go all in and put the chips in on Oba Femi, and it's going to be Oba against Drew in the main event of WrestleMania, like, okay, like I can get behind that because it's
which they've set up. If you think about it,
they absolutely
there's a path to get there. So
yeah. And so that's fine too. But if you aren't going to use it this year to like really catapult the next guy, I just want there to be a huge main event at WrestleMania like last year. Like Cody and John Cena. It's a huge main event. It didn't work out. The match was not good. But going into it, it's like, yes, that is a WrestleMania main event. And I think Roman versus Punk is the best thing they have that's fresh, that kind of fits that mold. So, Sean, I know you say he doesn't need to win. I kind of think he does. Blake.
See, that's the thing is like I understand the thinking, but I don't think he's at Elimination Chamber. I tend to think that like he wins and all of a sudden you do it there, because I do think it seems like we're heading towards Punk and Balor in Elimination Chamber. And maybe Roman shows up, right? He confronts Punk after or whatever, but like I don't know that I see Roman in the Chamber match to earn the way there. And yeah, like to me it is one where, like you said, like you've got to have one of those matches. And remember too, like all reports, we're not saying everything is always 100% accurate. So some of these reports are like, well, it's not going to be this or not going to be that. It could very well be this or that. Like maybe that is the direction they're going in, right? But right now, if we assume that they're not doing Cody versus Roman, which seemed like the clear direction, and if we also know that the Seth Rollins injury probably threw a big wrinkle in their plans, because I do think probably at one point, Zach, it just, the way they were teasing things, it seemed like it was going to be pretty obvious to me. The 2 main events were going to be Roman and Seth, and it was probably going to be Cody and Punk. And I think that was 6 months or so ago, though. Like, it's not anytime soon. So I think the way I see this playing out, and this is just me assuming that Roman wins and we don't get one of the other choices. And I said, I think the second best choice is not Braun Breaker. I think it's probably Sami Zayn, because I could see a scenario where if you're going to do this with Roman Reigns, the final 2 need to either be Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn or Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker. because in both of those situations, I think you're going to get exactly what you want in the short term and the long term. Because my theory is that if Reigns wins and he goes on to face Punk, he's going to beat CM Punk. And the reason I think they want that to happen is because I think they want Braun Breaker to beat Roman Reigns to win his first world title. That's how I would do it, because I think it's bigger. Nothing against Punk, but Breaker beating Reigns to win his first World Heavyweight Championship kind of feels like that Rock Brock type thing, right? From 2002, where it's like, we are going all the way. It's our biggest star, and we're going to have this up-and-coming guy who's the next big thing. Just go out and beat him. And again, that's no knock on Punk, but I think that's the bigger match for Breaker. Because how many months we've been saying that, right? They're going to get to Braun Breaker versus Bronson Reed. They just haven't gotten there yet. And so I can definitely see that being the domino effect for the next 6 months. And I know people, again, are frustrated with Reigns. He's not going to be there every single week and all that. But listen, I still think you cannot deny what Roman Reigns brings to the show. I think he is still such a big star, and he's been such a positive on WWE television for the past 6 years now in terms of just the star power and the appeal that he brings. Every single time this guy returns, Zach, like, go to YouTube. It always has like millions upon millions of reviews, and views, but like, and he's returned how many times in the past 3 years?
I know.
You know, it's like you can set it up as a return like 15 times.
They treat it as like a special deal every single time.
Every time, yeah. But it works. Why wouldn't you? So I mean, and like Roman, Sean's point here, but again, he can do that without having to win the Rumble. Yeah.
And that's true. He definitely can. But then I think the minute you do that, you make that call, you get yourself in a situation where, okay, Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble and he's in a multi-man championship match in the opener, of night 2 or night 1. Like, it's like, okay, you can do that. I think WrestleMania is hurt when that's not the biggest story.
Yeah.
And for that reason, that's why if you're going to go with Sami Zayn, great. But then put him in the main event against Drew McIntyre and go with him and really, do that fully. Don't tuck him away, and like kind of hide. Oh, this is the Royal Rumble winner. He's over here. And like, that's that. I'd rather them own it and just put that on, if it's got to be Roman, great. At least he's in the main event, WrestleMania.
Keep in mind, too, Roman's won the Rumble once, like a long time ago.
It seems like he's won it like 5 times.
I know, and I think that's the reason I'm so in on this one, because this guy has been very giving when it comes to, like, even look at his past year, right? Like, look at the stuff with Bronson Reed. Like, this guy has been like, hey, I'll play this game a little bit. And remember, there's something else that points me. How many times has Cody brought up the fact of how many times he's won the Rumble and saying 2-time winner, and all this stuff? If Reigns becomes the next 2-time winner, then it's like, all right, you get a little bit more fuel there if you ever want to do that match again. And Cody has been saying it so much that I'm like, well, somebody else needs to win it a second time and it not be Cody. And look, you could very well have this Rumble come down to Roman and Cody. But
now that would be cool. I would dig that.
That
but
would
know me, I was the only one beating the drum for Cody versus Reigns 3 at WrestleMania. So
I was fine with it too. It wasn't my favorite, but I was like, I can see exactly why they would do it. But yeah.
All right. What about the women's Royal Rumble match? I think there's not as glaring of an issue, I think, in this one, where it seems like, let me take a step back. It seems like whoever wins the men's, or whoever is in the undisputed WWE Championship match on SmackDown, it feels like that is angling to be a multi-person match, whether it's a fatal 4-way with Jacob and Sammy, or it's a triple threat with Jacob and Cody. It just seems like there's too many people hovering around that right now to be like a singles match at WrestleMania. I don't get the same sense on the women's side. I think you could do a lot of winners and all of them would make sense to kind of occupy a singles championship match slot at WrestleMania, whether that's Liv Morgan or whether that's Bianca Belair, even if it's even if it is like a Rhea Ripley or somebody like that who is kind of doing other things right now, that could immediately launch her to the front of the line. Io Sky, same kind of thing. I think there's a lot of like potential WrestleMania level singles matches to be had, which leaves the field wide open for the women's match.
Yeah, and that's where like it's trying to talk yourself into, do they do with the women's match what they did with the men's match last year? And that is, do they pick someone? And I think, to me, like if they're picking someone of this group, like I think Roxanne Perez is the best choice if they're going with like an outside the box type choice that the people just aren't all the way in on right now. I think she's the best option just because you could play with the dynamic of her and Liv and Raquel, which I think is going to be the story of this match, honestly, other than just hey, we've done a great job building our tag team division up. All of our partners are going to be in here with each other, and some of these partners are going to get along. Some of these partners are not. That's going to be the real story here. So I think that's been a smart move because it does make it more intriguing in terms of like how the match plays out. But like I think with the winners, Roxanne is kind of that wild card choice to me. But if it's not her, I'm thinking again, how do you get from point A to point B, knowing there's a point in between that, you can get there with the Elimination Chamber, but I still think it just has to come down to either Liv or Bianca. And, that's the thing. Like, we have no guarantee that Bianca's going to return here, but I would have to believe, like, this is the moment if you're going to do it. And maybe that's why they're just like, hey, the injury may be better, and they're just like, we're going to hold it off until now. But, I did pick Liv, and I think it's simply because I just think the story of the Judgment Day with those three in particular, and specifically I think Liv and Roxanne, that's the big match you're getting to at some point. I just think that works better if Liv wins this thing. And because then you can see a different side of Roxanne. We've already seen that different side of Liv, but you can really see a different side of Roxanne depending on how they get there. Whether Liv eliminates Roxanne or not, right? Something has to happen where that rift is there. And so I think to me, this can be the starting point of Roxanne's rocket push to the top, the same way that Liv had that starting point whenever that was, 2024 or whatever. And so, but at the same time, you mentioned a minute ago, like, could I see Rhea winning if Bianca's not ready to come back or something, and you get Rhea versus Jade at WrestleMania? That's a big match.
It's a huge match. Right, exactly.
So Tiffany Stratton, I think I could absolutely see her back in one of the two championship matches at WrestleMania. So could I see her return here and win this thing? Yes. I'm trying to think if there's any other like wild card choices. Like we just tend to think it's not going to be either a Becky or AJ Lee because they're going to be together.
Right.
And so, yeah, like I think those are probably the best options. I mean,
I think Becky and AJ are like, they're set to eliminate each other. Like,
right. They have to do
like
something.
That's how that's going to go. I mean, it writes itself.
Yeah. The only other one I'll say, just to throw it out there, I don't think it's going to happen, but if you do want to go with just a complete wild card type choice, I think Blake Monroe's interesting because if they wanted just to bring her up from NXT and all of a sudden put her into a prominent spot, I think she's one of those few that certainly has the experience behind her that you feel like she would thrive in, any type scenario. I didn't love the way it's kind of gone in NXT for her, but I think if you just get out of that and kind of give her a fresh start, like I do think she can be someone that could be thrust into that role immediately. But I think that's highly unlikely.
I do too, but I think that she could work. I mean, she's totally underutilized right now in NXT. I don't even. It's hard to even like talk about it because it's just like, what are we doing here? Like this, she had one of the matches of the year in 2025 on a national stage. Like it wasn't like in the Tokyo Dome. Like it was like in AEW. So I really say there makes a lot of sense. I guess my pick was Bianca. I just think Bianca and Jade is such a good match. And like the reason why I might not pull the trigger on that right now is that you didn't have essentially this whole year to build it more. Like they had planted those seeds, what 2024, 2020, like at the beginning of 2024 with like their tag team, and they tagged at WrestleMania 40. Like there's just this long history that I think, you could definitely read the tea leaves and go, okay, that's going to be a huge singles program down the road. But now there's like a 9-month gap in that story. Like, do you want to immediately get into the feud, or do you want to, like, now that Bianca's back, give it more time to marinate and then do it this summer, or do it, next year's WrestleMania or something? I don't know. I just think that's a hell of a match when and if they get to it. Blake, WWE as a Royal Rumble has been known to make some blunders. They have some issues. A la Roman Reigns, a la not Daniel Bryan when the time was there. Triple H won the title in one of these. Like it's just they don't have like a clean record of getting it right every year. So I ask you, and you have to take into account the Saudi Arabia audience, right? Like I think you're getting a pretty WWE friendly audience with the fact that they're over there. Is there any winner in your eyes that would spark like true backlash from not just the fans of the building, but on social media? Like, is there anybody where it would be like, okay, like we got to revolt again, and we got to make sure Cody gets the main event because, like, is there anybody out there that you think in the men's or women's match where it'd just be all up rebellion with WWE fans? Because we've seen it before with the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless they just completely lost their minds and like Brock won or something, I don't know that there would be anyone that just would, I mean, I guess Jay won again, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think Brock's the easy choice just because he would still probably get cheered there, but I mean, thinking of Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania again, I just would not want any part of that. So right. I think that would be one. It's funny because you mentioned Cody. I mean, there he would get a huge reaction. But yeah. I do think if Cody were to win again, I think there would be some real, like, interesting discussions to be had. Because, and I don't see it. Like, but if he did, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, great, we're back to Cody versus Drew. Or if Cody wins it, and you start to realize, wait a second, maybe they got us all along, and they're actually going to do Cody versus Punk. That's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah. But I don't see it necessarily, because I think, although to be honest, like I would much rather see that happen to get Cody away from, the SmackDown for a second and just sort of focus on what again felt like a bigger match, but. I think a lot of that, too, and remember, I mean, Sean brings up Logan Paul. I'll be honest with you. If there's a guy that has grown on me, if there is a guy that's grown on me, it's Logan Paul. Like, could not stand this guy at the start. But he is so good in his role in the Vision right now. Like, he's really fit in so well. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he will eventually be a Royal Rumble winner. Like, I think you're right about that, Zach. But I don't know, like outside of Cody, just for different reasons maybe, and again, Brock's the obvious one, but I don't know if there's anyone that I would just say, yeah, they're just going to completely revolt if it's that guy.
I couldn't think of anybody else either. I mean, Brock is the guy that comes to mind. I think if Goldberg came back and like won the Royal Rumble, like that would drive people crazy. Same thing with Undertaker, probably, but I just don't think that's even a realistic prediction to make at this point.
Jericho would be an interesting response on
that would be interesting. Yep.
He's not winning.
I don't think he's winning, no, but I mean, I think you'll definitely see the seeds of like what his WrestleMania match is going to be.
Yeah.
What in this.
Yeah.
I want to see Logan Paul against Chris Jericho so bad.
I know
Like,
that's now that you say
I
that,
want
I'm
to see
like,
that so bad.
Yeah, that's
All
true.
right, last Royal Rumble question, then we're going to pivot to AEW for a bit. Have we totally shortchanged Gunther here? Like, the guy got one of the biggest rubs you could get, tapping out John Cena. And we haven't mentioned him until right now, 36 minutes into the Royal Rumble conversation. Like, to me, like, when you decide, hey, we're going to put over Gunther, we're going to have him tap out John Cena, like, I just figured, like, okay, they're going to go with Gunther and Cody at WrestleMania or something like that. And Gunther's going to win the Royal Rumble and he's going to face Cody at WrestleMania and then he's going to retire Brock Lesnar next year. Like, there was all these things that lined up and you're like, okay, they're going to go all the way with Gunther. It doesn't feel like that now.
No, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't even considering him, but I think he may be the best answer to your last question. I think
Yes.
there would be a lot of backlash if Gunther won the Royal Rumble. Like, I think there'd be a lot of fans online that wouldn't necessarily been pleased about it. I think obviously you get booed there, but yeah, like I think he's an interesting one to think about because, and this is where again, I love the fact that they've set the undercard up the way that they have because depending on how those two matches go, that is really going to play into the story of this match. Like we said, if Sami Zayn loses, I fully expect him to be in this Royal Rumble match, probably because McIntyre cheated to win, and he'll find his way into this thing. And if Gunther beats AJ Styles, then all of a sudden he comes in, and it's almost like he's entering the Rumble looking for his next victim. And we know who that's going to be. You're eventually going to have him and Brock Lesnar square off. And I would think that's kind of your next direction. Maybe not even at WrestleMania, which, I mean, what else are they going to do if that's not what you're doing? But we know, like, that SummerSlam in August in Minneapolis, I think is the ultimate spot to where you have that match. And, you know, we've said before, I think that's where maybe Lesnar retires and you're done that way. But it is good. Like, and I think that's where maybe I've just had a hard time figuring out what to do with Gunther because it really all depends on what happens in that match. So, yeah.
Guys, this is Pro Wrestling Weekly. We're live with this show at the Takedown on SI on YouTube every single Thursday afternoon, 12 Eastern, right here, talking the weekend wrestling with you. Hello to everybody who's joined us. If it's your first time checking us out, thanks for being here. You can subscribe to the Takedown on SI for all sorts of different videos and content. We have a preview show up, full preview, match by match of the Royal Rumble. Also some interviews with top AEW and top WWE talent. It's all there on the Takedown on SI on YouTube. Some Gunther comments here from our live chat. Sean says, Gunther won't win the Royal Rumble, but he is my favorite character right now. Him and Brock at Mania. I'm all for it. Atlasphere says, Gunther doesn't care about the Rumble or titles or only retiring people, apparently. Yeah, I mean, that is a focus. That certainly is a focus. Yeah. Thanks, guys. If you want to get your comments in, drop them in the live chat. They're open. I'm keeping pretty good tabs on it. Drop them in. We'll get to them as quick as we can. Blake, let's talk AEW. Let's pivot over to AEW. Big debut last night, or like I think it's a big debut. Tommaso Ciampa makes his AEW debut. He announced not too long ago that he was not re-signing with WWE. AEW snatched him up, so he's going to wrestle this Saturday on AEW Collision. And it's going to be for the TNT title, so he's going to wrestle Mark Briscoe. I thought the debut on Dynamite this week was well done. I thought it framed him as a pretty big deal. I thought, like, Ciampa, he's on a run of having just tremendous entrance music. Like, the music work, like the psycho killer thing worked with him standing in the middle, like in the kind of like a silhouette. I thought it was just a really cool debut. And he's going after the title, or the TNT title, which I kind of think is good too. Like, I think if you try to drop him in with like Kenny Omega, I don't know how much that worked. That kind of feels like you're kind of over pushing what and who Ciampa is. I think this is a good fit. It's a good spot. It was a good debut. I don't know what the ceiling is for Ciampa in AEW, but so far I think they got it right.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. I'm like, presentation is everything. It doesn't matter where, like, it doesn't matter if it's WWE, AEW, whatever. It's like how you're presented, especially from the start,
Yeah.
I think is so crucial because, if you mess that part up, then it just becomes such a challenge to get back in the right direction. And again, you don't get that first impression twice. And so the way they set it up, like again, the visuals, and I know everybody talks about the lights out stuff and all that, but like it's fitting here because you do have this guy come out and you have the the video board, like it's just hitting all the right notes. And I think it set the tone for what you wanted with this guy. And I think this is one where, and for me, sometimes I have to remember, I'm like, this guy's only 40. Now, maybe like in wrestler years, it feels like he's like 65 just because, he's got, the history. What's it? I think it's at the neck. Something like there's just, I mean, everybody does, I guess, in wrestling, but it's just that kind of stuff. Like it makes you feel like this guy's been around so much longer, but he's just been doing this for so long now. And I think that you see him now go to AEW, and this is where, like what's his ceiling? I think it probably is. He's going to have some matches against the top stars and all this other stuff. Like I don't see him as an AEW world champion, but
Yeah.
I think it's like if you start this off the right way, which could be debated, like should he win on Saturday? Like should he just go ahead and come right in and beat the beloved babyface guy for the title? And like you have this history between the two, and you can tie all that together. Again, it does kind of set the tone. For all that, Atmosphere brings up, he's had the long gray beard and looked 40 for a decade or more. Yeah,
it's so true. He's looked 40 since he's been in the Cruiserweight Classic all those years.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I like it. I think it's going to be kind of interesting, and I think that's where too. Why was everyone so down on AEW for that period? They were down on AEW. It was because it felt like it was becoming more like WWE. And now I think when you just can bring in guys like this and they just come in and they can just wrestle and be different and be something that WWE is not right now, I think that has also helped AEW. The booking's been better. They've got their mojo back, like all that kind of stuff. They've done a good job building up more stars, but I think you just have to play to your strengths. And it's okay if you bring in someone like Ciampa and he can go out and have a 18-minute match with someone, whatever. Like that's what AEW does well. Don't try to put him in the bubble that he just got out of with WWE, and I think that's the case for everyone in AEW. So yeah, I think good signing for Tony Khan. I know everyone makes fun of just how many guys they have, but that's okay because they're presenting something completely different. And when you can have the variety they have with matches and all that kind of stuff and filter guys in and out, knowing you're going to have injuries, like I'm perfectly fine with it with AEW in this particular instance. So
I'm too. For sure. And I'm with Sean here. I think Sean says here in the live chat, yes, he needs to win. Briscoe will be fine. The TNT title needs to be built up way more than it has. Yeah. I mean, like, I just think he needs to win. I mean, I think like, even if you were like debuting him last night and the plan was for him to lose, I think the debut went so well that you got to feed it a little bit. You got to throw another log on that fire because he's a different guy. He's a different kind of wrestler. Like, yes, he's a worker, right? I mean, he can wrestle good matches, but I mean, Tommaso Ciampa, if you remember like his NXT run, he's a character guy too. He's a character guy. He can cut intense promos. He can tell really good stories. And so I think because of that, you're not just getting like a high flying person like Jordan Oliver, right? I mean, he's got a lot more in the toolbox than that. And so I think he could actually stand out pretty strong in AEW because of that. And because it works a little bit differently in AEW than it does WWE. There's a rawness there to him that I think fits AEW better than the polished up WWE that you see on a regular basis. So yeah, I think this is a good get. What is the upside for Tommaso Ciampa? Like you said, no, probably not the world champion. I agree, But like, is this somebody that you could put on pay-per-view against Jon Moxley? Is it somebody you could put on pay-per-view against Okada? Like Kenny? I mean, like, I think he makes sense for all those guys at some point, but is it a match that you could sell to the public for $50?
Yeah, I think just again presenting him the way they did last night, like you mentioned, like the psycho killer type thing. Like you can play off a lot of guys, I think, with AEW with where they're at right now. Whether it's Moxley, whether it's Swerve, whether it's Hangman, like I think you can do all those kind of matches. Now, is it again for the title? Probably not, but is it like a main event level, maybe not last on the card, but like a featured match among 12 or 14 on a show? Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's where this first match feels like it's so important because, you need to win that one to set the tone that he can be one of those guys. But if he comes out and just loses right off the bat, then I think that scales down a bit. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And overall, I thought AEW had a really good show last night with Dynamite. I thought I like when everything points at the World Championship.
Yeah,
like call me old school. I just think pro wrestling works better when that's happening. And I love the promo segment to open the show. Last night with Swerve and Adam Page and Kenny Omega. I mean, you got your top stars going after the world title, and I think that's good for your show. And I think it helped kind of set the rest of the show into a proper place. So I thought they had a good night at the office last night, Blake.
Yeah, I think so too. And I admittedly, I'm someone who was, when people were down on AEW, I was probably more down on AEW at that time than maybe even some people were. But like, I think they have refocused, and we've mentioned all the reasons why I think things have started to get back, headed in the right direction. And yeah, I think they are very focused right now on kind of what makes it work for them and why they're successful and those kind of things. And like I said, I just think we have to eventually, and it's impossible to do in this era, like just move beyond the comparisons between AEW and WWE. They may have different people that go work here, go work there, but they're just two completely different presentations and products, and you have to consume them in different ways. And I think by doing that, and also seeing how AEW has tweaked things from when things were not so great, yeah, I think they deserve a lot of credit. So,
all right, let's get some news nuggets here. AJ Styles reportedly filed to renew 2 key trademarks, one being the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, and the other being that P1 logo that you see on all his stuff, shirts and gloves and hats and, all that craziness. Obviously this leads you to think, hey, he may be continuing his career elsewhere after losing to Gunther on Saturday. I don't want to pour cold water on everybody, but it also could just mean he wants to own those when he puts out some T-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, in the next year, and maybe he's not wrestling anymore. So I think all of that is possible. But what do you make of that news, Blake? Does this signal that he's going to lose on Saturday and continue his career elsewhere, or is it just, hey, I just need to get my business affairs in order ahead of retirement?
I can see it now. WWE Unreal Season 4. All right, here's what we're gonna do.
See, there you go. You can't forget that reality.
We're gonna put out this story. We're gonna leak it to this outlet, and it's gonna say you're trademarking this. And meanwhile, we've had Shinsuke Nakamura spoil the end of AJ's career. We've gotten the dream matches in the past week. I'm starting to connect all these dots. You're not going to fool me out there with all this stuff they're doing. Every single day, it's something new with AJ Styles. Listen, that could just be the case. Like, it could just be that this guy's going to do other stuff.
You're so right to call it out, though, because you can't take that out of the equation at this point.
They love it. They love that we can't. They love it. There's nothing they enjoy more than us sitting here trying to work ourselves into a shoot here about something that you just don't know if it's true or not. So, like, I do joke about that, but yeah, it could very well be that, Zach. Like, he may just be taking this stuff elsewhere and can do other things. And yeah, like if you're someone you want to have that kind of stuff, and so yeah, so I'm joking, but that could be it.
There's certainly some matches that he can have in AEW that are a blast. I mean, like Kenny Omega against AJ Styles. Like, I don't think we've seen that since like the Big Bullet Club turn. When they turned on him. So like, that's there. Obviously Nakamura. You got Adam Page. I mean, there's just a MJF. There's just like a long list of potential like dream opponents for him. So I don't know, man. Like, if I'm him, it's hard to leave the WWE kind of bubble because like I'm sure he's making good money, and WWE is a place where he can be for a long time, whether it's a coach or a producer, or, he'll be able to pick up some work there. But boy, it would be hard if I was AJ Styles, because he has so much history outside of WWE that's a part of his retirement too. So I kind of hope he does give some consideration to wrapping some of that up also at some point.
They have spotlighted him so much that I'm just like, would they do that knowing if he's going to go to AEW? Like, would they put this much into this with him and give him all these opportunities to have these kind of matches? Maybe. I mean, maybe, but I don't really see WWE as the kind of goodness of their hearts type people where they're just going to allow you, you know what I mean? So like, that's the part I can't sort of shake right now.
It's the same thing with the trademarks. I'm like,
yeah.
Since when is WWE just going to let him have those? Like,
that would not happen if he's just bolting for AEW. There's no chance. So yeah. I'm a little curious, but
we got you figured out, WWE. Sorry about you. All right. Also, last night on AEW, Jake Doyle, formerly Jake something, and also another new signing for AEW, injured, tore his bicep reportedly. That's a bummer. I think that's they lost to FTR, yesterday for the tag titles, but they looked like an old school heel bruising tag team to me. I loved that. And God dang, I sound like this guy who's just like, oh, the old day. I'm really not that. I really am not. But that
I am.
But they looked like a badass heel team out there. It's disappointing that he's going to be out of action. Also, if you know Jake something, he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy, and it sucks that he's hurt this early into his AEW runs. Bad luck.
Yeah, you know me in my free time. I'm not watching anything WWE puts on Netflix from like the past whatever. I'm watching like Memphis wrestling from like 1979. I'm watching the AWA, and I'm watching all these guys that, like you said, look like Jake something, and I'm just like, I'm out here just thinking, man, like these are like your old school type guys. Give me more of these. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. Thought he came in. We always say, like, it's how you're presented. The momentum you get off the bat, obviously built a lot of momentum right from the jump in AEW. So yeah, just bad development for him because I think things were, again, going pretty well so far. And, like we said, that's not always easy to do in such a crowded roster, but.
For sure. Yeah. Bummer. Real quick, going back to AJ's thing, Atmosphere has some good context to put around what we're talking about with the trademarks. He says, I believe those were already AJ's trademarks, which he leased to WWE for his tenure, and they returned to him following his retirement. Okay, that makes more sense. I can buy that. I can buy that because there's no way WWE would just give them up.
No.
Like, they owned The Rock for decades and upon decades. Like, yeah, they're petty like that. Not even petty. It's just good business. It sounds personal, but really I mean, you gotta own that stuff if you're that. I get that.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, I wrote this story up yesterday for the Takedown on SI. It's up there if you want to read it in detail. But basically, Blake, Becky Lynch says she doesn't like her ring name. She doesn't like Becky Lynch. Rebecca Quinn is good. Lynch, she dislikes. I kind of like the name Becky Lynch. I think she's crazy.
Yeah, I don't really see any issue with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Royce Keys or anything. But
Jeez.
no, I actually like people were mocking that one. Like, I don't actually hate the Royce Keys one as much as some people seem to. But that's just the more time sensitive one based on that seems to be the case. And we didn't even mention him as a possibility in the Rumble. I guess that could happen also. But I don't see a big issue with Becky Lynch. Like, again, of all the name generator type names we've seen in WWE and especially NXT, I think that one's like on the higher end of just name generators. So
I think I'm like in the minority on this, but the names, they just don't bother me. Like like if you look at some of like the names of like the top wrestlers right now, Roman Reigns, like when that when that first came out, I mean, come on, Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
Like that's not a cool name either. CM Punk, that's definitely in my eyes not like, oh, that's a great wrestling name. It just is one now because of what Punk is. I think Braun Breaker is going to do the same thing for that name, which is obviously ridiculous. But so I don't know. I think if you're good enough and you can get over, it's just a name. It's just a name.
Yeah.
Sorry, Becky.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap up with the show, and we'll wrap up with how we do most weeks. Blake, let's play another edition of Name That Main Event.
All right, so since it's Royal Rumble time, I figured we'd tweak this a little bit because if I just give you the Rumble winner, you have a pretty good chance of like picking out who it will be. So instead, I'm going to take this a little step further. Okay, I'm going to give you the final four of a certain Royal Rumble, and you tell me what Royal Rumble match.
Wow.
This was,
okay. All right.
I think this is a little bit more interesting if we do it this way. So,
yes, definitely.
All right, so. Here are your final four, and I think this one's, say easy, but I do think this is kind of a.
And I'm picking the year, right?
You're picking the year of the Rumble. That's what we're going to go with on this one. So, all right, the final four of this particular Rumble was The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kane, and Billy Gunn.
One of these things is not like the other. Holy smokes. The Rock, Kane, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Billy Gunn. I'm going to say 2001.
You are correct. What I think may be the gold standard of Royal Rumbles in the WWF. Let's be real. Billy Gunn surely won that one. Yeah, that's right. It was that year we all remember. Billy won that one.
One Billy Gunn.
So, yes, it was 2001. I think it's a hard discussion for me because I've actually gone back and watched both recently. But between 2001 and 1992, I think of the two best Royal Rumbles in WWE/F history. I think 1990 may have the most star power ever, but 2001, Austin winning, eliminated Kane at the end there. It was just an incredible match. And again, I would highly recommend if anyone feels nostalgic over the next 48 hours, go back and watch 2001 Royal Rumble because it was tremendous stuff. Of course, Austin wins. We go on to have WrestleMania 17. We know it played out, but I just thought it was such a well-booked match, and that's where, I
love that Royal Rumble, too. It's well-booked. It's kind of like a good mixture of, when you think about the current day star power that was in that match, Triple H, Kane, The Rock, Steve Austin, all in the same Royal Rumble match. It's insane when you think about that. But then it was booked so well too. Is it Mr. Perfect in that, or is that a different one?
So that was 2002, and I like that one also. I think they back to back. That's where you had Triple H coming back from the quad injury. He wins it. Mr. Perfect's in the final four. I think it was Was it Triple H, Austin, Angle, and Perfect maybe were the final four, or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, and I think too, this is the era where it was so different. If you're looking at the participants in this match, they're all, except for I think 2, they're all like guys who are like have a purpose on the roster at that time. Like they're doing stuff on the weekly TV where they have some sort of purpose. So there's stories you can tell.
Yeah.
And then you've got, a couple of the wild card, like you've got Drew Carey in that one, right? The honky tonk man came in. But like you're not having 6 or 7 guys that are just pop surprises just to give you the moments, right? It's more of the story aspect is why I thought it was so good, because you had so many people that were kind of intertwined in different stories. And I just, to me, I thought that's what made it so good. So
it is good. And I think the hook there like was the fact that I was able to put Kane and Austin together, because there's that iconic like him eliminating him with the chair and then tossing him over like that. It's funny what you remember and what you pull from those. I would enter. This is going to sound crazy because of 2020 and what 2020 ended up being after this Royal Rumble, but I think the 2020 Royal Rumble stacks up too. I just watched that one, and man, like just the heat for Brock and like him eliminating all these like so many people to start the match. And then you get Drew in there, and Drew goes on the run and he eliminates Brock, and then he eliminates Roman to win. Like that was like a well booked Royal Rumble as well. Plus Edge too.
I'll say that the most underrated Royal Rumble I think that is 1994, and I know it had the double winners with not perfect, Brett and Luger, but it was a really good one. Watched that one not long ago. I'll still contend to this day, Zach, the worst Royal Rumble in WWE history. And for the longest time, there was another one of these that held that title. It's 2022. It was absolutely the worst Royal Rumble ever. And I can say that definitively now if I had to rank these. So,
that's
all right,
Brock
quick question.
Too, right?
That's Brock. And that was the whole Shane McMahon report fiasco about how Shane, like, what a terrible Rumble that was.
I mean,
all right,
Ronda Rousey won the women's one. Like
she did, yes. I'm going to ask you this question, okay? You can do quick hitter response. Okay. Remember, Kane eliminated 11 people in the 2001 Royal Rumble. Who is the Kane of this year's Rumble? Maybe they don't have to hit 11, but who's going to be the just pure monster who just eliminates everybody?
Oba.
I think so too.
Oba Femi.
I think it is.
I'm pretty definitive on that. I think that writes itself.
Yeah. I hope
he gets a good showing. I mean, he's going to be a pushed guy.
You want to guess your final four?
Ooh, okay. All right. Final four. Let's see here. I'm going to go with Roman, Cody, Femi, and like somebody random like Finn Balor or something. Somebody like some workhorse like that. Some like mid-card heel. That's my final four for the match.
I'm going to go with the totally predictable final four, and I'm just trying to figure out how they eliminate Oba Femi because I'm not going to put him in there. I'm going to go Cody, Roman, Sammy, and Breaker. Because I just want to see what they would do if it was those final four, because I think that's the most suspenseful. We'll
they're asking for it if they put Sammy in that.
I know.
Like they are asking for trouble.
But listen, my thinking too. Think it real quickly. Like if you finish with Sammy and Roman, there is a way to get Roman back to where he needs to be, and that is the tribal chief, not this cheered guy that just sits around. He can get his revenge for what Sammy did to him 3 years ago, hit him in the back with a chair, throw him out of there, throw him out of the Rumble, and the real tribal chief has returned. That's what I want.
It. I mean, it would certainly work if Sammy's going to win, you know? Like if your pick is Sammy to win, like that's a great final four because he outlasts some strong competition in that scenario. It all goes down Saturday afternoon. We'll have all your coverage live up on the Takedown on SI. Make sure that you guys are going there for all your news throughout the weekend ahead of the Royal Rumble, for the Royal Rumble, and after the Royal Rumble. We got you covered with all your news, all your analysis, right there, the takedown on SI. Make sure you subscribe to our channel here. We have new stuff dropping all the time. As we mentioned, there's a full Royal Rumble preview, match-by-match preview that's up in roundtable format, so you guys can check that out ahead of the show on Saturday. Plus, we got some new interviews dropping with Booker T is up there right now. There's another special one that's on the way. Don't really want to say who yet, but that's coming. So subscribe to the channel. And if you can, and you're watching this video, if you can help us out and just hit the like button. It helps us reach new people. But we will see you all post Royal Rumble. Next week, we'll officially be on the road to WrestleMania. Thanks so much for joining us. For Blake, I'm Zach. We'll see you all next time.